guys, welcome to BCoT Live, where we talk about college life, discussing different topics with different guests. I'm Tegan, marketing assistant at BCoT and host of BCoT Live. And today I'm here with Maxine, who works at the Wote Street People, which is a recruitment agency based in Basingstoke. She's had 20 years of direct experience within recruitment, but she's also a trustee member of the M3 Enterprise Job Club. She's also a mentor at Basingstoke Consortium and also a regional director for Team. So on today's podcast we'll be talking about getting that job you desire, recruitment and tips and tricks on your next job interview. So Maxine, can you just tell me a little bit about your job role?
So as Wote Street's Managing Director, my aim is to, or my job title really is to run the business. Mm-hmm. So that might be strategic, looking at what we're doing. It might be a little bit of sales, networking, promoting the company, but also admin, making sure that we comply with the law. And there's a lot of compliance within recruitment agencies. So a really varied remit, which is what I like, to be honest with you.
Cool. And let's just get right into it. So CV, writing, how to write a CV. So what information should actually be added to a CV?
I'm really not being facetious when I say your name.
Yeah.
We still get CVs through without names on. Contact details, phone that you're going to answer. Mm-hmm. Maybe set up a different email address, particularly if you're going to put it on job boards, because you might get hundreds of emails. So something that's not going to divert to spam or get clogged up. Profile, that's your brand. Yeah. That's not the fact that you want to be an administrator or a brain surgeon. That's what's your unique selling thing. Education, particularly for education leavers. Any work history, whether it's voluntary, paid, and occasionally, because it's a little bit Marmite, interests and hobbies. And I'll explain about that a little bit later.
Okay, and it's funny you say about the email address as well, because some people could add a really embarrassing email address. Do people do that?
Yes, and when I say these things, I'm not pointing this at education leavers. I've had very dodgy email addresses on CVs from people who are on six-figure salaries in London. Yeah. You've got to think about who's going to read this, what impression am I giving? Yeah,
definitely. And how should a CV be formatted?
Ideally Word. Adobe PDFs are great in most instances, but some people can't always open all of it. Okay. Google Docs is great because it's free, but a lot of systems just swipe out information. Good basic Word, no text boxes. Some of the job boards will delete content from a text box. Yeah. So quite simple. A good font, maybe something like Arial, Calibri, not Times Roman. Don't get too funky with it unless you know your target audience. Yeah. White space and not too blocky with the text. So it's quite inviting to read.
Yeah, I definitely think that when you write a CV, it should be digestible. Yes. That's what I like to do, even with my marketing social media posts. I think if it's digestible, then it will be good for the reader. Exactly. That's what you're always thinking about. So should people, you said this, but should people add every bit of work experience and voluntary work?
It depends. If you're sending it to a recruiter who is then going to be looking at multiple jobs for you, I'd get everything on as much as possible. Okay. If you're applying directly to a company, do your research. Go on their website. If the website has things about socials, put your interests and hobbies on. But if you've worked in retail and say you didn't like the customer service aspect and you're going for an admin job, you might not need to put on elements of the customer service. So make it relevant for them to read. It's a little bit like when you go into a restaurant, your specials board says Hunter's chicken, spag bog, lentil curry, and then your menu says everything. Yeah. So you might only need hunter's chicken and lentil curry.
Yeah.
You might not need to talk much about the spag bog, so you don't need to be telling all the ingredients.
Writing a cover letter, how can that help with getting an interview?
So, as I mentioned before, everything needs to be relevant. The one thing I would say is if the advert asks for a cover letter, write one. So you're proving that you're following their recruitment process.
Okay, yeah.
If it doesn't, the first half of your first page of the CV needs to be so relevant, you don't need a cover letter.
Okay. How many CVs do you read a day?
A recruiter could easily read hundreds of CVs in a day. An HR manager, anybody hiring. So at the moment, the statistic is they will spend 7.4 seconds on each CV. So that's why that first half of the page has to smack them between the eyes and go, read me, read more of me.
Yeah.
Again, going back to food, if your first taste isn't brilliant, you might think, where's the chocolate?
Yeah.
But after the first couple of tastes, you think, this is really nice. When you get to the end of the meal and you go, I could eat that again.
Yeah.
That's what you're aiming for.
Yeah.
I want to read more.
And you don't have to be very good at English to do that. And I also think that if you use such, really long words and stuff, it's wasting time. They just want to get to the point.
And also, play to your audience. Hopefully you've done your research. If they use elaborate language, then that's an invitation for you to do so.
Yeah.
If they use short, succinct sentences, you use them. You want to prove to them that you're part of their culture. I don't like the word tribe, but it gets bandied around a lot. Show them that you understand and you can work within that remit.
Yeah. Yeah, and going back to keywords, why are keywords so important?
To take it back a little step, the reason computers use keywords is because so do our brains. There's a psychological thing, sorry, my language fails me at times, called the recency effect. And when you buy an orange car because you want to be different, you just see orange cars everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's the same with keyword searching. So if you want to go into customer services, but the advert you're applying to talks about clients, not customers, change your language. Match your language to theirs. If the HR manager role is actually a people champion, job title's getting really weird and wonderful these days. So you're saying, I understand what you're saying. It's a language. Speak their language.
And it's psychological as well, because you would naturally be more drawn to somebody who's speaking the same language as you, rather than somebody who doesn't use your language, and you think, are they going to be a good fit for our team? Yeah, so talking about young people now, going for their next job, they're leaving college, they want to find their next job. What manners are hiring managers looking for?
They want eye contact. They want you to be able to engage with them. And I know sort of like post-COVID that's become a little bit more difficult, but there's ways of practicing. We call it an elevator pitch, and it's a great exercise to do when there's a few of you. So your name, where you're based, what you're looking for, and how can you help somebody else? So it would be as simple as, my name's Maxine Hart, I'm based in Reading, I'm looking to engage with people because I want to find them their next career step, and the way that I can help people is actually help them write their CV, give them a mock interview, and so on. Just doing things like that.
So what advice would you give to the young college leavers for their first job interview?
Be yourself and don't think of the word interview. Okay, so within the English language, the word interview implies one person asking the questions and potentially having the power over the other person. A job interview is actually a business meeting. You need labour and you're prepared to pay for it. I have a skill set and I'm prepared to charge you for that.
Yes.
So it's a two-way thing. So, how do I benefit out of this? What's going to help me on my personal development journey. Think of it as a meeting.
Yeah. And how can a candidate stand out from other candidates?
I would take a notebook and pen in with you with your questions written down. This is not an exam.
Yeah.
Okay?
You're right.
And even if they answer it all, thank you, you've answered all my questions.
Yeah.
A really good question to ask is, what do you feel, or what are your concerns about employing me?
That's
Because
a really good question.
it allows you to overcome any barriers straight away. So they may say, well, actually, we've got candidates who've got experience of standing on their left foot.
Yeah.
Sorry, what I didn't clarify was I can stand on my left foot and my right foot, and wiggle my wrist at the same time.
Yeah.
Wow, we didn't ask about that.
Yeah.
So it just...
And then you've solved that issue straight away before their, like, thinking process and making a decision. So, yeah, that's really interesting. And how do you overcome the fear of a job interview?
Practice.
Yeah.
Practice. Get your friends to interview you, maybe a family friend who perhaps works in business.
Yeah.
And maybe even classmates.
Yeah.
Role play's difficult. You know, there'll be giggling, there'll be jokes, there'll be, little insults thrown in there and a little bit of banter. But generally, most people don't want you to fail and they want to help you. And the person interviewing you won't want you to fail because they need to fill that position.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. We've also got VR headsets where you can have a job interview.
Wow.
VR headset, yeah. So I find that quite interesting because these students have come out of COVID, they struggle to speak to people. So having that first initial, just a VR headset that they're really used to because obviously technology is like that now, that's the first step.
And a lot of first interviews now are either on Teams, Zoom, Google Meet.
And it's quite casual now.
Yeah.
You don't really have to dress up in a suit or really like high heels or anything. You can wear trainers. You can just be yourself.
Do your homework.
Yeah.
Look at the website. What are the people on the website wearing?
Yes.
Particularly go to the About Us
Look at
LinkedIn
LinkedIn.
photos. LinkedIn. Wear what you're confident in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't wear strong perfume. We've had instances where somebody's been allergic to the perfume.
Really?
Yeah. So think about things that might distract them from what you want to tell them and avoid those things.
Are there any methods of speaking to people and explaining evidence without being waffly?
Yeah, there's a system that I advocate called STAR.
Okay, yeah.
Situation, task, action, result. I'll give you a very short example. So situation is catering manager at a school has ordered macaroni cheese, received bananas and custard. The task is to get macaroni cheese there by 12:15 so it can be heated up for the students to eat at 12:30.
Yeah.
The action of the call centre handler was to bike macaroni cheese on a time delivery, uplift the bananas and custard so that they didn't go on to stop because they'd ordered twice in one day. The result was the students didn't even know there was a mistake made, and the catering manager put all their spend with that one company because of how the complaint was handled.
So there's no waffling and it's just straight to the point.
The thing is as well is get there early. One, because it's polite.
Yeah.
Two, you can people watch.
Yes.
How are these people interacting with one another? Is it something that you're going to be able to work with?
So what are the most likely questions they would ask in an interview?
Tell me about yourself.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the profile on the CV. You know, what's your learning style? Are you a practical learner? Are you a theoretical learner?
Yeah.
What's your communication style? Are you direct? Do you like compliances? Everything in an email and detailed out? Or are you a, hi, I'm so-and-so, and you actually say 15 sentences before getting to the point?
Yeah.
You know, how do you make people feel? Are you a motivator? Do you empower people? Are you an empath? Do you love working on your own so you can just crack on and get stuff done? Don't try to be all things to all people.
Yeah.
Because it's rare that people can be like that.
Yeah.
The other questions are, they will ask you about your experience. Have your star stories prepared. Take them in on cards.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing to say that it all has to be up here.
Yeah. Great. So thank you very much for coming. The podcast is finished now, so please like and subscribe. You can also listen on YouTube and Spotify from the team here at Basingstoke. Thank you for watching. Catch you next time.